Hi, everybody. It's Brian Walker, CEO, founder of Retail Doctor Group. And for those who tune into our Future of Retail podcast series, had some amazing speakers. And today, really delighted to be with Chad Lieberman, CEO, founder of Future and Future. And what a fantastic business name for a
For the
topic about
future
the
of
future.
retail.
Of, absolutely, Chad. And
Sounds
maybe
funny.
that's a nice piece just to say hi, Chad, and welcome to us. You had an extensive background. Accenture's global Salesforce team, started the marketing cloud practice at Accenture, major transformation projects like Hewlett Packard Endeavor, and of course, the Dreamforce Partner Innovation Award winner. So, Chad,
Yeah. Yes.
and I had the pleasure of listening to you speak at an informal get together, about 4 months ago. And one of the pieces that stood in my mind, and we really sort of want to develop this out today with your help, is this concept of AI, but whilst many of our colleagues are talking about AI in terms of cost cutting, efficiency, productivity, I'm really intrigued about the future of AI in retail. And will it have capacity and propensity to innovate? Will it have capacity to think ultimately,
Yeah.
and to sort of what will its major implications be, and what will be the consequences for the retail workforce, retail strategy, retail leaders?
Yeah.
So, Chad, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Brian. And I love that Future gets to be on the Future of Retail podcast and talk to you, a thought leader in the retail space, about some practical examples of what's going on. And also, yeah, looking into the future. Actually, the funny story about future is sometimes we talk about the future as like next week, but when you kind of say, no, I'm talking about the future, we're always thinking about beyond tomorrow and where things are leading to. And that's actually how the name came up. Funny side note, but
Mm,
yeah, I
mm.
love kind of talking about these big concepts of where I think things are heading, and also kind of practically what leaders can do today to start adapting to this new change of innovative technology.
10 or so years ago, we talked about websites, and we
Hmm.
talked about the world of Google, and we changed our patterns, of course, to where we are today.
Yeah.
Are we on the next wave called AI? And will it be more profound than the e-commerce generation? Is an opening question.
I think so, yes. My belief is like we're in this really profound new era of machine and AI intelligence that is essentially a revolution or evolution of um, similar to what happened when, yeah, Google redefined search and digital e-commerce. I think we're at the starting point of something very transformational. I think if you already look at like the data and the statistics of like what's happening in redefining experience and search, the amount of customers who are using generative AI engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude to ask questions and receive answers. It's able to synthesize knowledge from hundreds of different sources into a response that's more natural, that checks many different things and not just like links and ranking, but more of, hey, this is the summarization of all these things combined into one neat answer, and also driving people to that, to what's next. So I do think things are changing dramatically from that old, search engine to this new phase of awareness through these generative AI engines.
I heard this comment once, Chad, and the person said, anything that is a data point is the domain of AI.
Hmm. I like
And
that.
that was quite an interesting and sort of pervasive way to say it. And I remember talking to you very briefly about the 4 pillars of
Hmm.
change with AI.
Yeah.
And maybe we could sort of talk through some of those. One, of
Yeah.
course, is this, you nicely put, awareness, the new front door. And I like that saying.
Yeah.
Um, generative engine optimization, the changing nature of search, and maybe that's
Yeah.
the segue out of the
Yeah.
Google into ChatGPT. I personally use ChatGPT, 90% of searches now,
Yeah.
probably higher,
Same. Yeah.
and my
I
Google
think,
uptake's pretty low.
yeah, I mean, myself as well, right? I use ChatGPT and also Perplexity, which is another AI-driven search engine, but for everything, for shopping, I want to use natural language. Let's just give an example to say I'm looking for a new barbecue grill, and I want to know, search for me all the barbecue grills that are under $1,000 and maybe are rust proof and has a feature to remove the hot plates, right? And exchange those out. And these searches are becoming more comprehensive, and also the ability to use natural language, but also why it's more powerful is it's able to search many different sources. Okay, different blogs, or let's say Wirecutter from the New York Times about reviews, Reddit for people who the community who says, okay, this is the best grill hands down. And actually put it into an output of your choice. I want to actually put it into a table, list it low to high by price, and give me the links. Oh, and then by the way, see if you can search out all the internet and find me some coupon codes. That is a completely different behavior than just searching Google and looking for different keywords, and then the top keyword ranks and you click on that site. To me, the better experience is the former, where just you're able to see all the data you want at your fingertips. And I think it's going to completely change commerce. It's in completely changing search, and we're seeing that live. This kind of transition in the data right now.
And so on that topic, and a little bit of the present, right now we talk about SEO, search engine optimization, Google searches and the like.
Yeah.
But I would imagine fairly quickly we're going to be talking about ChatGPT optimization
100%.
and how well organizations, Chad, are prepared for this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know if organizations are that well prepared for it. I think we're all trying to adapt and evolve to this new era, but they need to. I think the ability for a retailer to adapt to generative engine optimization, I'll call it, or geo. I don't know if that's the correct term. I think it's just already in this change, but you want to allow these generative AI engines to be able to search the content of your site, similar to the way Google indexes your website today. You want these different LLMs like ChatGPT or Perplexity to have access to your site and crawl it and be available to come up. But more and more searches are going to be driven through AI search engines, and less are going to be done through Google. 100%. It's already happening now. And I think retailers really need to get ahead of that.
And you make a comment, Chad, when you talk about the importance of being present when when intent happens, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Choice, chat, voice, imagery, and so forth.
Yeah.
So this idea of being present.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so where is these one of the things I say is like AI is like a new interface of interacting, right? It's like, and also the ability to talk, to search in natural language, to paste an image, to I use the voice mode on ChatGPT all the time just to like rehearse conversations or actually walk through with like a coach and a mentor. Yep. You also can search ChatGPT or Perplexity on WhatsApp and actually do a response. So yeah, where do you want this, and where is the intent happening? And I think, that's really important, because the way that customers experience, and I think we might talk about this one of the other pillars, is the way that you even interact on a website, of searching in the search bar, clicking through 10 pages, searching products, rather than actually like talking to an AI agent and saying, hey, can you find me a new pair of boots that actually match this outfit, and actually having a conversation with like an intelligent shopper that knows your history, knows what you've bought, knows your interests. Like that is an experience of the future that I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
be seeing a lot more of.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Chad. And maybe that brings us to this second pillar, this prototype to products in days. And I was
Hmm.
interested in this whole conversation about ChatGPT and their relationship with Shopify and this fascinating piece, because as we talk through it, the future will be who is initiating the product transaction ultimately. So we've grown up with
Hmm.
the retailer largely initiating the product. But now
Hmm.
what's occurring, of course, it's consumer-led. And suddenly we're seeing, as you nicely talk about into the future, rapid prototyping, instant personalization, building products campaigns, experiences faster than ever, to use your words. What do we
Yeah.
unveil with this?
Yeah, I say so. I mean, if the first pillar we talk about is just awareness, right?
Yeah.
I think that's changing a lot. I think that the second pillar is like speed. So speed to market in terms of many, many different things. Like one, I think if we talk about products and
Mm,
prototyping, new product designs, you can ask ChatGPT put together a new logo. There's website builders using AI where you can launch a website in a couple hours.
mm,
A new logo, you could build a new product type, like come up with a list of product ideas and generate me a prototype of that. So typically something that might have taken weeks to do of putting together a website or a new product, a new brand logo, even in terms of marketing, I've seen this website where it can create all the ad design and copy and give you 50 different variations of it instantly. And so even creating marketing briefs, writing copy, doing design is going from, okay, maybe it used to take 3 weeks to launch a campaign to a couple of days. So the speed to market in the product, but also the digital side, I think is going to converge to see this like rapid launch of new things. But also, yeah, maybe on demand creation of products, which I'd love to hear if there's any use cases on that now, but that's definitely a possibility.
yeah, I think it is. And, the question you rightfully ask into the future is speed the innovation, or will everything be so quick that speed, fulfillment to market will just become the entry price of doing
Yeah,
business?
yeah, yeah. Well, I think speed does enable some creativity and it will be kind of the table stakes of the experience. But I don't mean speed isn't also everything, like, but it does help. You also have to, if you create a great product, distribution is still important, right? And also like where I think about this is like the market's going to be more crowded than ever. When you have people being able to vibe code a website and a new SaaS application in days, in a day, that does the same thing. One example was like someone was really fed up with DocuSign in the e-signature landscape, and they just kind of took the screenshots, recoded the whole thing in a few days, and launched it for free. Wow, like you see, like there's going to be a proliferation of new SaaS products, but also the ability to launch new products where I think they're going to be a lot of competition. And so, how do you actually fight through the noise and make sure things are quality and does have good distribution and following in that given this new pace of innovation?
So what does that look like projecting forward in terms of, will I need a physical shop? What is the life cycle of my retail product and brand? Because if AI will initiate more crowd and competition, lower barriers to entry, um, and a lower expectation that a product or a brand will be around for a long time, but it'll be much sharper and faster and so forth, but easily copied, easily replicated, then doesn't that change consumer expectation and retailer expectation and place much more emphasis on speed of creation? And AI initiates or one of AI's great strengths is content creation.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just start to think about that and think, well, what does the future hold for shopping centres, for the big businesses that we know, as they move much faster into direct personalization, AI, and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, I think the retail experience can be uplifted through some AI tools. As you go into a Spotlight or Harvey Norman, and you're able to pull out your phone and search an engine to say, hey, take a picture of this. Is this available here? Searching all the inventory, asking, um, you know, questions with that customer's profile in mind, some personalization on things, other products that might be of interest. So AI-driven decisioning, we see that being very popular. But being able to search, and I think that's going to change the retail experience. I mean, I don't know. I'm not. I think there's something as well about certain retail experiences of just being in the store and this almost like combination of that, this digital experience combined with the retail, that might be, what we think about in the future. But I also see this new generation, who, in some regards, if you look at how the mobile phone has changed every interaction for like a teenager, sometimes they're like, let's put our phone down and let's take cameras, right? Like disposable cameras. I think there's this kind of like a bit of a movement around like, yeah, just because it's easy, or just because you could take 1,000 pictures on your phone that no one looks at, this more special in terms of using a disposable camera. And I always think about that one example because you could see that, sometimes that if you can just have easily access to everything on demand, it removes the experience and it doesn't make things special, if that makes sense. So I think there's also an opportunity for retailers to actually set that aside in their mind and say it's not just about getting rid of retail and doing this whole AI. Maybe people don't like to talk to an agent online. They want to go into store and have this great experience. So kind of how can you combine the mesh of what a great experience is like in store versus how that can be combined in the digital world?
Yeah, there's no doubt the social instinct prevails. And one of the longer term questions for I think, is will AI get to a position or a point in time where it's able to think as individually as the human? Is it able to feel? Ultimately, these are broad, almost existential questions, but questions nevertheless about the composition of society in an AI-fueled world. Will we need as many? Will robotics play a part in retail, for example?
Yeah.
And the AI brain.
We're seeing, I mean, robotics and AI, I mean, is going to be, in self-driving cars, self-driving trucks, in freight, shipping, logistics, in the factory. 100%. I think those jobs will be replaced by AI sooner than we think. There's no doubt about that robotics and AI. Um, I don't think AI will ever be able to have, I think we'll be able to kind of program what we feel like empathy feels like, but I don't think they will be able to experience it like we are humans and uniquely, right?
But what it can do over time, because every human facial expression is a data point, is mimic, to your point, mimic those data points, so that I'm meeting a robot in a retail store. Remember, this is in the future. Who will look, for all intent and purposes, like a human. And it's getting into sci-fi now. And they will have mapped out every single human emotion possible. And the tonality of my voice will trigger the response.
Well, I think people that will happen, and I think people will find that experience, and maybe we'll find connections, in AI as it gets more, kind of natural human-like. Of course, I think that's going to happen. I don't think there's like this true emotional, machine intelligence, which can obviously synthesize all the Earth's, human knowledge. It can
Yeah.
all have that data, but that kind of emotional intelligence, I think, is where it sets us apart. Like, can they actually truly feel? Like, I don't think so, but it does. It probably can so closely mimic those feelings, that, there was just a video released this week in China. I don't know if you saw about this like factory worker of like a robot that's like tied up, and then it just starts like losing it and starts like kind of punching and hitting and stuff like that. I don't know if you saw that, but
No, please
it's
send
like
it
a
to me.
very scary video.
We'll send it out. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
But it just kind of makes people think, like, how do you know what someone's actually like, what this thing is feeling, and what, you have those weird hallucinations where the AI responds in these dark ways. Um, are these just hallucinations or something deeper than that? So it's such a hard thing to think about. But it's such a sci-fi, yeah,
That one is for
question.
sure. But what we've
Um,
covered too is really point three uh, of your sort of four pillars. This experience agents that actually help.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and it's even recently I've watched some colleagues send, sort of AI note takers into meetings with apologies. They personally can't be there, but giving the identity of
yeah,
the, this is Sally
yeah,
who'll step into the meeting.
yeah,
And you take that to its logical future and you
yeah,
start to think,
yeah,
wow, the
yeah.
changes. So I guess in pillar four, it's crazy. Oh, the other question too is, will agents replace websites as the primary interface, which was one of your questions?
Hmm.
And I think it's a great question for the future.
Yeah. Well, first of all, how do you think I was able to do this podcast? And I'm actually, off on the beach right now in the northern beaches, just going for a surf. I could be, but
Yeah.
no, I think, yeah, if the first kind of two pillars are around being able to use AI for awareness and speed, I think experiencing a new interface and having an agent, it's a kind of a new experience, a new modality of how you interact with things. And so typically like a website of old, of we would go, to a URL, we would go, search and click on a product and add it to the cart. Having an AI assisted shopper is definitely gonna become a new normal, or a virtual assistant, to be able to say, hey, I'm looking to book a trip to Europe. I have 2 weeks. I have this budget. Help me plan out an entire trip. Call the hotels. I've seen voice agents be able to call. They could be also maybe, um, agent inoperability to actually say, yep, this is what we have available, and actually book the hotel and come back with a confirmation. I mean, that stuff is actually happening right now. This agent to agent interoperability, and the fact of these virtual assistants being able to, plan your tasks for the day, the calendar. I think where everyone's going to see like a lot of productivity uplift in that regard, but also just the change of how we interact with things, and that experience is so different. It's not going to be driven by a UI anymore, because these agents can control a browser. They can talk to other agents through agent to agent protocol. This is definitely going to be the future of how we interact, with companies and experience things different.
So on that point, if we take it full circle, it's theoretically possible in the future that your agent, your personal agent, your assistant, could do business with a barbecue company who has an agent representing them and actually transact that barbecue you're looking for while you're
Definitely,
surfing, while you're
definitely,
surfing or doing whatever. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, yeah.
And how far away do you think that might be, Chad?
I
Just,
think that's
just
pretty close. Like,
yeah.
I think we're honestly there. I mean, I've seen some demonstrations of this type of, um, experience. Also, Claude announced that, MCP, Model Context Protocol, which is similar to an API layer to allow agents to have a set of tools and prompts and actions and data accessibility to be able to talk to each other. And so we're not only like far away, like we're nearly there in this agent to agent operability, and to have agents work on teams. And, they found that agents that work in teams or together produces much more quality than just like
Right.
a zero shot prompt.
Yeah.
If you have for example, like a writer and an editor,
Yeah.
the writer writes the first draft and then it sends it to the editor. Then the editor, can then send it back to the writer. So them actually working together and having a different set of instructions
Yeah.
makes the quality of output better.
Amazing.
So I think we're already there, but the adoption of that in the enterprise, I think, has been, I think, a bit slow to adopt because everyone's trying to figure out how to make that work. Is your data right? What are the right use cases we want to tackle first? Is this valuable? Do we care? We very care much about security. How do we enable the right, reduce risks? So there's a lot of that has to happen, that I think enterprises are working through.
And so there seems to be a bit of a lag in personal through to enterprise. Does
Yeah.
that lag exist for AI?
I mean, I think 100%, like you talk to people on like employees who are using ChatGPT across their day, or different AI tools to automate processes, but as a part of their job, whether that be writing emails, taking an Excel file and doing a forecast, and uploading that, doing a business plan, but in terms of at the enterprise level, having an AI strategy and the right use cases and the right data that you have access to, it's definitely has required more thinking of how do you approach it at a business organizational level. And I think oftentimes it kind of can be surfaced up through insights from the people who are using it. How are you using it? How is this valuable for your job? And taking like that bottom up approach, I think, is very powerful. Instead of just saying this is the one tool or one access that use case that we're going to do. But you want to obviously make sure that it's in a safe environment, but also create that culture of tinkering and usage to get to see how people are getting value from it.
And so as we're talking about the fourth pillar, the agent to agent commerce, would you be advising retailers to start preparing for this, and that this is a reasonable use of capital, and where do they start?
I mean, I think, yeah, the fourth pillar to me is just the beyond. It's just there's so much, I think. One of the things I say with AI is that it's impacting every industry and every business function, whether that be marketing, commerce, search, it could be sales, customer service, and yeah, other future beyond things of agent to agent commerce. I think, where do you start? I definitely think that people need to be investing in these new capabilities now. And I think it requires, yeah, like where do you start requires you to start thinking about and talking to the people, the users of their customers. It starts to talk with the users of the technology you're working with. How can we make the service experience better using AI, and what processes do we have and how can they be better? And I think those are like, there's certain table stakes use cases that I think everyone should be looking at now, like that are already like what everyone else is doing, generative search on your website, or summarizing a customer's case and looking up knowledge articles even before an agent has it. These are the things that are just available to use now. What I think is the kind of beyond the table stakes and these more big bet use cases are going to be, can I create a virtualized AI shopping assistant on my website and also have that same one available to my employees in store that has access to all the data about my customers, all of our inventory, and be able to actually ask it questions and search inventory and take action autonomously for me in real time. That stuff I think is we're getting there, and they should be really looking at that because that's going to provide a really big value uplift compared to maybe just some of the table stakes use cases. Yeah, I mean, so I think you got to start with a strategy and build the roadmap and execute it.
And I guess finally, retail without humans, as you ask, is this empowering or somewhat eerie?
Retail without humans.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a bit eerie. Um, I think there's this human and AI collaboration sweet spot that allows for the human experience powered by AI. I firmly believe that. And that's not to say that I don't think AI agents are capable, they're already capable of performing jobs in a call center or in a warehouse. But I think the future of retail is human, powered by AI, and just made better. I think we all are social creatures and we love the interactions, and I don't think that's something that should be fully replaced, even if we could.
I think what you've also said very eloquently too is that technology, AI, will get very, very close to replicating that experience. Ultimately, very close.
Mm-hmm.
And as those degrees of closeness grow, we start with the easy to pick stuff, the process workers and so forth. But as we move up the value chain, so too does the technology and the AI, to the point where in the future, coming full circle, it's going to be really interesting to see if there'll be a lot of difference between the two.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think I'm really, I know there are things that seem fearful, but I do feel like a sense of optimism and excitement about where things are going and the possibilities that it's unlocking in retail, in healthcare, and energy. Like, I think there's the ability, like, of anything to be able to harness it for good, and there's the ability to abuse it for bad. And so I think we, like, collectively need to have better guardrails. We need to look at those use cases that are helping predict cancer and build new products that people love, and focus on that, and while also ensuring good guardrails and safety and risk. And but yeah, it's really exciting where things are heading, especially in retail. And future, I call it the business of evolution. It's about, we're all here to help evolve and adapt to the future and get to that next level of where we think these experiences are going to be, that make customers want to have that experience with your company. So and I'm excited about that.
And Chad, what a fantastic session.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one last question that we haven't
Of course.
talked about?
Okay.
I remember reading I don't know, a couple of years ago, talking about the end of the external iPhone, the device.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered to myself, if we get to the point of agents acting on our behalf, negotiating, purchasing, bookings, and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
and if we move from ChatGPT search, and as technology is enabling a lot more interactivity with our glasses, the clothes we wear,
Mm-hmm.
will we see the demise of the well, we call it the iPhone, the Android, let's say?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, are we going to see the demise of the human race?
No.
But yes, the devices. Yeah, I think that's absolutely possible. I mean, you see what, like, Meta Ray-Bans are trying to do in that augmented reality space. I mean, 100%. I don't think I think the mobile device will be a thing of the past, similar to the way a record and cassette player and things are. We'll be able to actually see all the data around us in our glasses, be able to use our fingers to open some up, just search and say, hey, or call Brian at the retail doctor.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need a retail doctor. And
I'll be very
be able to
surprised if I'm
analyze.
still around then, Chad, but sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's closer than you think. But be able to analyze what's around you, be able to give context, search the internet. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty crazy world to live in. But it's definitely, I think, closer and for sure going to happen. It's probably just, yeah, when.
Well, it'll move us away from the Christian interpretation of Moses and his tablet. And the tablet, of course, is the device.
I think so. Yeah, that's it. The AI
Um,
is the burning bush of voice.
I
The
think,
voice. The voice of. That's probably it. We're getting back to the beginning. So.
and in some ways, what you've eloquently done today is, whilst talking about the future, and particularly of AI, of course, you've
Mhm.
also indicated, and I think it's right, we come back to our human instinct and spirit. There's a utopian rather than dystopian view to this. And in some respects, what we see is just faster, more accelerated personalization. Anything with a data point is indeed the domain of artificial intelligence.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, there's so much that's changing, so many facets, I mean, that we talked about today, just in terms of how people become aware of products and, the speed to market of new technologies and products and the way that we experience working with companies and these customer experiences and their agents. And there's so much more. Yeah, be it personalization and everything. It's just it's a exciting and exciting time to be to be into. So
Thank
yeah.
you.
No,
Well,
thanks for
Chad,
having me. Yeah.
absolute pleasure. So, on behalf of Retail Doctor Group's Future of Retail podcast series, amazing content. What we'll do is we'll bring this together. We'll send it out to our respective databases. And
Yeah.
Chad, we'll come back to you too about how we bring this all, in terms of getting to work closer. We've got 50 minutes of content, so I'm sure that we'll have more than enough for 2 episodes.
Yeah. I think we probably could have talked for another couple hours. So next
Easily,
we'll save
easily.
we'll
And
save
we
some of
will.
that for next time.
We will. So, Chad, thank you very much for
Yeah.
joining us, Future of Retail podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please look up futurefuture.io and really get in touch with Chad, particularly around working out, thinking through, planning out the future of retail.